Hello, viewers of the eFlight Journal and eFlight Garden Talk web channels and readers of the Flying Pages magazines. Today we have a talk about the Electric Aircraft Symposium, one of the oldest symposium on electric flying. Today we have Yolanka Wulff, from Executive Director of CAFE Foundation, and she's going to tell us about CAFE's 14th Electric Aircraft Symposium. So yeah, Yolanka, you have had this over the years. I know the last years it was always in Oshkosh. Now we're in Corona times. Everything's changing.
Yes, it's we decided we needed to go on with the symposium, so we have switched to virtual format, and next week is the week. What I'd like to do is share a little presentation, let everybody know something about CAFE Foundation and the Electric Aircraft Symposium. So I'll go ahead, Willie, and share my screen.
Yep. Looking forward to this. Working now. We see your working screen again. Now it's perfect. It's the presentation screen.
Wonderful. So as I said, I'll let you tell you a little bit about CAFE Foundation and about the Electric Aircraft Symposium and what we're doing this year. So CAFE stands for not a cup of coffee, but Comparative Aircraft Flight Efficiency. CAFE Foundation was founded in 1981 by the Experimental Aircraft Association, their chapter at Sonoma County Airport in California. And for 38 years, the nonprofit CAFE Foundation has supported the development and implementation of clean, efficient flight. Our mission is to advance the development of low-emission flight by fostering and promoting early entry practical market opportunities. CAFE focuses on three areas: technology, promoting commercial implementation of cutting-edge technologies needed to achieve near-term practical electric flight; business and marketing, facilitating the communications, strategies, and market opportunities that support industry growth and success; and public education and advocacy, assisting in obtaining regulatory and funding support for the industry and promoting the industry to the general public through education. So with our unique position in the industry, CAFE Foundation is able to bridge disciplines and industries, identify trends and innovations, build strategic collaborations, and ensure ongoing coordination. During the 1980s, CAFE Foundation, with support from EAA, ran the CAFE 400, a flight efficiency prize competition in which aircraft flew a designated course and were scored based on a formula of velocity times miles per gallon times weight. The CAFE 400 popularized such innovations as high-intensity ignition systems, lean of peak mixture settings, laminar flow surfaces, leakage drag reduction, special propeller designs, and many others. In 1992, EAA proposed that CAFE should turn its talents towards performing comprehensive flight tests of the most popular experimental kit aircraft. To enable this, EAA funded the building of the CAFE Foundation Flight Test Center at Sonoma County Airport. The Flight Test Center is the home of our high-tech aircraft scale, our precision barograph with numerous custom wing mounts, and the world's first electric aircraft charging station. CAFE Foundation produced many aircraft performance reports for publication in EAA's Sport Aviation magazine. These were the most comprehensive reports available on small aircraft at that time, and included measurements of the aircraft's flying qualities, as well as a thorough set of performance parameters. CAFE Foundation is exploring the opportunity to return to its research and testing roots to develop an independent testing and reporting role in the electric aircraft industry. As more companies move toward certification, we look forward to offering our expertise in this area. For the last 15 years, CAFE Foundation has turned its focus toward electric flight. In 2011, CAFE Foundation hosted the NASA Green Flight Challenge at our Flight Test Center. The purse was $1.65 million US, the largest prize in aviation history. The competition was also sponsored by Google, who installed the electric aircraft charging station at the hangar. This competition marked an historic achievement in aviation, the first demonstration of practical cross-country emission-free flight. Team Pipistrel from Slovenia had the winning aircraft, their 4-seat electric-powered Taurus G4, which flew nearly 200 miles nonstop while achieving just over 400 passenger miles per gallon. Team eGenius from Stuttgart came in a very close second for the Green Flight Challenge and also won the Lindbergh Prize for quietest aircraft with a peak takeoff noise of just 59.5 dBA at a 250-foot sideline. Here you can see some other photos from Green Flight Challenge. I particularly like the view from the bottom of the Pipistrel G4, which their team affectionately names the divorce airplane, the perfect airplane for the divorced couple. You can also see an aerial view of the hangar and the planes at the charging station and the other planes at the competition. In 2007, we convened our first Electric Aircraft Symposium in San Francisco with 9 speakers. This annual conference brings together industry leaders to share the latest developments in electric aviation to reduce aviation's environmental footprint. The conference has grown over the years and has moved from its original home in the Bay Area. We now hold the conference in Oshkosh on the weekend before Airventure begins, except of course for this year. You can see Olaf Otto, at the time he was with Siemens, now of course with Rolls-Royce speaking on the left. And on the right is a panel of fixed wing electric aircraft developers that we had last year, I believe. Here you see some more speakers, including Lily and actually Ken talking about market opportunities. So this year, as Willie said, is the 14th annual Electric Aircraft Symposium. And for the first time, we're holding the conference online. It is next week, July 28th, 29th, and 30th. For the past 2 years, Vertical Flight Society has joined us in co-hosting this conference, and we're very grateful for their support and help. This year's EAS will take an in-depth look at passenger, cargo, and military markets for electric-powered aircraft, as well as a continuum of electric aircraft designs spanning eVTOL, electric short takeoff and landing, flight training, general aviation, cargo, commuter regional, and business aircraft configurations. The EAS program will also take an in-depth look at aircraft certification challenges, in addition to battery electric, hybrid electric, and hydrogen fuel cell propulsion systems. Our format this year is 3 half days, each made up of 4 panels with a break in the middle. Each panel includes presentations from 3 speakers and a moderated Q&A. And the first day is free. Our list of panel topics are shown here, and there's more information on our speakers and registration at our website, electricaircraftsymposium.org. So as you look at the panels, you can see that we've got quite a variety, but I wanted to point out a couple of new topics that we are doing this year. For the first time, we have a panel looking at regional markets, both the Scandinavian market, so much is happening in Norway and Sweden and Finland, as well as Cascadia, the Pacific Northwest in North America, which spans British Columbia in Canada and down to Washington and Oregon in the US. We also have several panels that are looking at various propulsion systems, including hybrid electric and fully electric, For the first time, we have a panel focused solely on hydrogen fuel cell systems, and we have a panel specifically on electric motors. That panel will include both Rolls-Royce and Magni-X. And for the first time, we have a panel dedicated to eSTOL, short takeoff and landing technology. And I think the fact that we have those panels is a testament to the advancements in technology that have happened over the last few years, that we're actually able to pull together an entire panel to talk about each of these topics. So again, we invite you to look at the website. You'll see a full list of full agenda for each day on the website, including speakers, and you can register there. So we're very excited for Electric Aircraft Symposium 2020, our 14th, and look forward to seeing you online. Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, Yolanka. And now I would like to introduce Kenneth. He's from the Vertical Flight Society, like mentioned before. And Kenneth, please give us an update. What is so interesting at the CAFE Foundation's Electric Aircraft Symposium that VFS joined? What VFS is doing, and also I heard that you also have some personal interest, especially on the eSTOL movement, which is coming up recently.
Right. So I was invited in 2017 to come to the Electric Aircraft Symposium at Oshkosh and speak on behalf of the Vertical Flight Society and talk about the Vertical Flight Society's activity as it related to eVTOL, or electric vertical flight technology. What we observed at the time was that there was, in a sense, parallel tracks, a traditional fixed-wing electric aircraft development or movement, and a separate electric vertical takeoff development. And there was a point of convergence coming because the building blocks for this technology, electric motors, batteries, and other aspects of the system were in common across both platforms. Now, a little bit about the Vertical Flight Society. It was founded in 1943 as the American Helicopter Society by the original pioneers of the American helicopter industry. And they created an association or an organization because at the time helicopters were new and it was entering into a world of fixed wing aviation that really didn't value an aircraft that couldn't fly fast or far or carry a large load. They didn't look at the unique aspect of vertical flight. Now, Vertical Flight Society today is the world's oldest and largest vertical flight community. It has over 120 corporate members and over 6,000 individual members, the majority of whom are engineers and technologists involved in vertical flight. VFS has been a forum where people have shared ideas and advanced the industry. That occurred in the 40s and 50s, and what we see is a repeat of history taking place today. In 2014, under the umbrella of the Transformative Vertical Flight Initiative, the Vertical Flight Society held the world's first eVTOL seminar in Washington. And that brought together 100 pioneers who were looking at vertical flight, electric vertical flight. We've held these seminars each year, and the audience has grown. This last year, we had over 450 people in San Jose. And we're tracking through eVTOL.news over 280 different eVTOL aircraft programs. So we have very much our finger on the pulse of the eVTOL side of things, but CAFE Foundation provides an opportunity for knowledge sharing and for broadening the community across a much larger spectrum. Now, investment into eVTOL has been substantial over the last couple of years, but certainly from a personal perspective, I sense that the conventional eCTOL market would also catch a wave of investment. And what we're seeing today is a continuum of aircraft platforms, from personal air vehicles carrying one person that are certified as an ultralight, through a whole number of categories of aircraft that either can use existing infrastructure like helipads or airports, or potentially new infrastructure like vertiports and stall ports or electric seaplanes that can use a dock in your community. So there's really a whole movement here, partially driven by zero emissions and low emissions, and partially driven by the fact that that electric propulsion will reduce operating costs and community noise, and in fact, perhaps enlarge the total market. So it's a very interesting time. And this panel this year, I've seen over the last 3 years a steady progression in what CAFE has to offer. And this year's panel really covers all the bases in terms of what's happening in electric aviation today.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And I think for us, before we come to our Q&A session, perhaps I introduce my colleague Xin, who is editor of Flying China magazine, and very much like me, interested in electric aviation. We founded together also the eFlight Journal, which is covering all the electric events which are happening around the world. We founded the eFlight Expo, which was the first electric aircraft exhibition in 2009 at Aero Friedrichshafen. So yeah, my first question would be in this case on Kenneth. So I'm a little curious. So the Vertical Flight Society now is also carrying not vertical taking off aircraft. Is this correct?
Well, I think that one of the interesting things is when you look at eVTOL aircraft, the enabling technology is distributed electric propulsion. We're not talking about electric powered helicopters so much as aircraft that use different kinds of thrusters, multiple thrusters. One of the configurations is the tilt rotor and the tilt wing. And where the crossover comes is those aircraft have wings for high speed flight and also low energy consumption. And I think that's the crossover point with the stall aircraft and with the fixed wing, in that for part of the time, those vertical takeoff aircraft are fixed wing aircraft.
Okay, understood. I have a question, Yolanka. Can you give us a little bit of update? Because I've seen you have quite an interesting speakers list. So who's gonna present this year at the symposium?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about it. I can also share the agenda if you want to put it up on the screen. Yes. But
yeah,
do you want to do that?
I think it would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go back to the screen sharing. Let me know if you can see that.
Not yet. So we just
not yet.
No, it's
but
coming
how about
up. Yep.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is our agenda for Tuesday, and again, this is the day that's free for anybody. Just need to register, so you have the link to log in. So we will start off with an industry overview. Mike Hirschberg from Vertical Flight Society will talk about vertical eVTOLs. Greg Bowles is head of government affairs at Joby Aviation. He's going to talk about how Joby's looking at the general markets, and Willie and Chin will both speak about what's going on in Europe and in Asia. Then we'll have a session on commuter regional air services. We'll have several speakers, including Ken, talk about what's going on in that longer thin haul, micro haul world. We'll have a session on urban air mobility. So these are more of the more urban use cases, generally looking at eVTOL, including Hector Garcia, who is the Chief Technology Officer for the new UAS-UAM program at Honeywell. And then we'll take a look at community integration. One of the big issues that we keep hearing about in terms of urban air mobility or advanced air mobility are the questions about public acceptance. And so we have three panelists who will talk about what it means to integrate transportation into the metropolitan planning or metropolitan transportation system. So that's Tuesday. On Wednesday, pull up the agenda here. You can see we've got, for the regional markets, we've got speaker from British Columbia, we've got, and Sweden and Norway. For our hybrid electric propulsion systems, we've got 3 companies, 2 in the US and 1 in France, that are working on hybrid systems. Graham Warwick from Aviation Week will be moderating that session. We'll take a look at testing and certification. This will be an interesting session. In the past, we have had speakers from FAA and ASTM. This year we have, because we have companies that are far enough along in the certification process that they can actually talk about how it's going and what they're doing. We have George Bai from Bai Aerospace here in the US, who is well along the path to certification for their 2-seat E-Flyer. Lee Human is with Aerotech, and Aerotech is an engineering and certification company. They're working with magniX, the motor company, to do certification on both a converted de Havilland Beaver as well as a converted E-Caravan. And then, of course, Tina Tomajic from Pipistrel, who will talk about their recent type certification with EASA. And then the panel I mentioned with eSTOL. So we have 3 companies that are focusing on eSTOL. Ken will moderate that panel. So we have MetroHop, Airflow, and Electra for that. And then finally on Thursday, we kick off the morning with a discussion of electric motors, including both magniX and Rolls-Royce. We have a session on fuel cell with ZeroAvia, HighPoint, and Sky, talking about their hydrogen systems. We'll take a look at market dynamics, and then we'll look at fully electric propulsion systems with speakers from BAE, from NASA, and from ES Aero. So that's the lineup. I'm really excited this year because of the online format. We're able to have 36 speakers. That's significantly more than we've had in the past for the in-person sessions.
Yeah, and I think you also have some very impressive names there, which I think perhaps is also one of the advantages of the online panel, because making everybody travel in August, end of July to Oshkosh is not that easy. There are a lot of people, but not from everywhere around the world. But online, you see the interest of the people. So also you'll have some people which you normally probably wouldn't have if it is in Oshkosh.
Indeed, and it made it possible, as you said, to have speakers that we might not have been able to have. It has also greatly increased our registration numbers. We are well over 300 people registered now,
okay,
which is phenomenal.
So Sin, do you perhaps have an additional question? As I think you haven't attended a forum up to now, so what you're looking forward to most?
Yeah, that's right. I've never been on site, but the EAAs, and really looking forward to, especially this year. I will be the speaker, so I'm really honored. So yeah, actually, I just have one quick question for Yolanka. Do you think there will be a chance that perhaps in the near future, CAFE will bring back the competition, the electric aviation competition? And if so, what type of electric airplane do you think would be more likely to compete? eVTOL or conventional fixed-wing airplane?
Great question. I think that we will see competitions. I suspect that if CAFE does that, we will partner, whether that's with VFS or with eFlight or another organization. I think the interesting thing that has changed since Green Flight Challenge is that this industry has exploded. There are now so many more, not only developers and participants, but organizations focused on this. So I think that for CAFE, our interest will remain with trying to reach those fuel efficiency numbers. I think we're less likely to be doing pure speed racing. We already know that there are other organizations out there. So I think that our competition would be focused on trying to push, if we were to do and push those bounds of safe, practical flight. And, you know, in terms of whether it be vertical takeoff and landing or fixed wing, it's a good question. It's a much more complex situation now. So
Sure.
I think that my guess is, you know, the fixed wings are going to be there earlier. That's probably what would happen. And I think we would, you know, if we were to do that, we would be looking to do something similar to a Green Flight Challenge again, but with the aircraft that are now flying.
I think it would be very interesting because especially people talking about the noise issues, and you mentioned the noise like for the Ingenious at that time, and it's interesting to see now at this kind of competition to see the different designs and how, for example, if we will have distributed propulsion systems in the race, how this definitely can reduce the noise level a lot, instead of having an aircraft which has one big prop in front of the aircraft, which normally is not that low noise as possible.
Exactly.
If I can just add, Vertical Flight Society has also been involved in competitions around vertical flight. Back in the 80s, we sponsored what became the AHS Sikorsky Prize for human-powered helicopter.
Yep.
And that was a $250,000 prize that was awarded in, I believe it was 2014. The winning team was from Toronto, where I am right now, Aerovelo, which was composed of engineers from the University of Toronto. Interestingly enough, most of that design team went to Kitty Hawk and were the designers behind the Kitty Hawk Flyer. But in 2015, Vertical Flight Society also was an early partner on the Go Fly Prize, which was a $2 million competition sponsored by Boeing, and was designed to spur grassroots innovation for vertical flight in a personal air vehicle. That competition is ongoing because there was no grand prize winner when the fly-off event occurred in February. So we're also very much believers that competitions can spur innovation in this field.
Perhaps interesting in this case is also to mention that Aero Friedrichshafen with the eFlight Expo, they are planning, or were planning for this year, to have the world's first rally, which could not appear because of, we all know, Corona and the pandemic. But now they are looking forward to doing this in 2019. Luckily, we're probably going to have the first certified electric aircraft already competing there, as Pipistrel was supposed to compete in there, and we'll have several other designs, and there are several electric aircraft designs at this point in Europe, and we hope that also some can come over from United States. So we're looking forward to having there some interesting couple of aircraft flying. It will not be a hard competition where you have the hard winners, like you said. It's much more on promoting the idea electric aviation is possible than who's the winner and who's the furthest flying. Xin, are you aware of any kind of competition at this point happen in Asia or China region, as you're familiar with?
Yeah, actually, 2 years ago, there was a competition proposal planned by one of the largest the Chinese cargo delivery company called JD.com. JD, I believe that's the Chinese version of Amazon. and they were proposing to have, but it's also just for unmanned drone to fly over one of the hardest mountain area in China, over 4,000 or 5,000 meters. So they are challenging the global teams for this competition, and I think the price was quite high. But it was, unfortunately, it was not materialized. So perhaps not many participants, perhaps. Hopefully, we'll see some kind of competition in China or in Asia in the near future.
I think, yeah, we are now at our limit of nearly 45 minutes, which I think is good for such a talk, that the people don't have to watch too long time in YouTube. As we all know, we are looking too much into screens nowadays anyway. But I think, thank you again, Yolanka, thank you, Ken, for giving us this update. And yeah, seeing you at the EAS next week.
Well, thank you, Willie. We really appreciate the time, and yes, very much looking forward to next week.
Okay, thank you.
Looking
Bye.
forward. Thank you.
So
Bye.